Hello, hello! We are the Half-Rust Heroes, and welcome back to an unconventional session of Auram, where we unfortunately lost the audio for this session. So I will be doing a brief narration to account for the events that happened. During the time after the journey that the Johnson administration took through Dawnridge Temple, we followed up with where Imperius was being held. Within this decorated feast hall with ancient ornaments, fireplace, and banners, Imperius found herself with cultists all around her, discussing what specifically to do with her, where they ended up moving her to another location outside, a ceremonial site for Downridge Temple. Shortly after being transported there, the hag returned from seemingly the scuffle between her and the party. However, to recuperate from her wounds, the hag entered into a strange state where her skin cracked like porcelain and became deathly pale white, and her hair became gray. From that, she drew out Imperius's life force and used it to sustain herself. All around Imperius, she found all sorts of captives that were taken from the previous massacres and the cases of arson beforehand. But one thing that she noticed at this point was that they all shared a pattern of all looking like Juniper and Hazel, the twins from the vision, as well as Nova, the little girl that Imperius let die. Apparently, the hag showed an inherent disdain for Nova, calling her the favored child from their mother. And having a keen obsession and hunger for Imperius's approval led to a very strange encounter between the two of them, until the Johnson administration was finally able to catch up and find their way to the ceremonial site, where a vicious combat ensued. At first, putting up this Hunger of Hadar, this black shroud that ate away at a majority of the party, Karak took the brunt of many hits and found himself increasingly isolated as he was finding himself trying to have a duel between him and the hag. But not long after, Imperius was able to find her way out of her restraints. And soon as the struggle continued, they were able to turn the tide somewhat. But they faced a difficulty, in that whenever they slew the hag, a wraith would leap from her corpse into one of the nearby cultists. And the turn after, they would share that same green gleam across their eyes, marking a sort of possession. Eventually, though, there are so many cultists that this hag could possess. And with the guards and mercenaries from Greywall arriving with support, the hag had nowhere left to go. Finishing up, the group found themselves incredibly haggard and limped their way back to Greywall, where they received a much-needed rest. After a brief day of rest, they were alerted by the secretary, the blonde elf, who served as their contact, who urged them to go outside for some affair. When the Johnson administration left and found themselves outdoors, what they didn't find was a problem, but indeed a celebration in honor of their deeds. For once, the Johnson administration got public recognition and would be known not as simple mercenaries, but as heroes. And where they would go next would be a mystery in itself. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
We also leveled up.
They also leveled up.